Rework by Jason Fried and David Heinemeier Hansson. Picture this, it's 1999 in Chicago. Two guys are running a small web design shop while the entire business world loses its mind around them. The dot-com boom is in full swing, companies hiring like crazy, burning cash like it's confetti, and crashing spectacularly. But Jason Fried and David Heinemeier Hansson? They're doing something different. They're small. They're profitable. And honestly, they're pretty annoyed. The project management tools they're stuck with are terrible, clunky, complicated, painfully slow. Built for corporate boardrooms with endless Gantt charts, not for a nimble team just trying to get stuff done. So they make what might seem like a simple decision but is actually pretty rebellious. They decide to build their own tool. They're not trying to conquer the world. They just want something that works for them. They create a simple project management tool called Basecamp. When they casually show it to their clients, something unexpected happens. Every single client says basically the same thing. This is great, but can we use that tool you guys are using? Suddenly, everything clicks. That little internal tool, born purely from frustration, ends up generating millions of dollars in profit every year. Their company, 37 Signals, stays intentionally small, yet their products reach millions of people globally. And here's the kicker. They do it without advertising, without salespeople, without a board of directors, and without taking a single penny from outside investors. By every traditional business rulebook, they're doing everything wrong, and yet they're absolutely thriving. The book we're diving into today, Rework, isn't really a business book in the traditional sense. It's more like a manifesto, a playbook that Jason and David wrote after more than a decade of proving that the so-called real world of business is often just a convenient excuse for not trying something new. This book has sold over 500,000 copies and been translated into more than 30 languages, not because it's packed with complex theories, but because it offers something liberating. You don't need to be a workaholic, you don't need a 100-page business plan, and you definitely don't need to sell your soul to build something meaningful and successful. So for the next little while, I want you to forget everything you think you know about succeeding in business. We're going to shred that old rulebook and discover a simpler, calmer, and frankly more powerful way to work and live. There's a phrase you'll hear constantly throughout your life, especially when you have a fresh, exciting idea. Someone, usually well-meaning, will lean in with a concerned look and say, "That would never work in the real world." The authors of Rework have a very simple message about that place. Ignore it. The real world, they argue, is a pretty depressing place. It's filled with pessimism and despair, where new ideas are treated like threats, and broken old systems are defended simply because they're familiar. The people who live there aren't content just staying in their tomb of mediocrity. They actively want to drag you down with them. But here's the thing, that world doesn't have to be your reality. Their own company, 37 Signals, is living proof. In the real world, you supposedly can't have a small team scattered across 8 cities and 2 continents. You can't attract millions of customers without a single salesperson. And you certainly can't write a book revealing all your secret recipes to your competitors. Except they did all of those things. The real world isn't actually a place. It's an excuse, a justification for not trying. And the first step to building something remarkable is unplugging from that mindset and creating your own world with your own rules. This new world starts by challenging the stories we're constantly told about business. Take failure, for instance. We're told it's a rite of passage, a badge of honor. Fail early, fail often, the gurus chant. The authors call this nonsense. They ask a simple question: what do you really learn from a mistake? You might learn what not to do again, but that doesn't tell you what you should do next. It's like getting lost in the woods. Realizing you took a wrong turn doesn't magically reveal the right path home. Success, on the other hand, gives you actual ammunition. When something works, you understand why. You can repeat it and probably improve it. That's how nature works. Evolution doesn't dwell on failures. It builds on what succeeded. A Harvard Business School study backs this up, finding that entrepreneurs who succeeded before were far more likely to succeed again. But those who failed first? They had almost the same success rate as people who'd never tried at all. Failure isn't a prerequisite for success. Success is. Another sacred cow they gleefully take down is the business plan, that thick, 100-page document you're supposed to spend months crafting. They say we should call it what it really is: a guess, a fantasy. Writing a plan makes you feel in control of things you can't actually control: the market, your competitors, the economy. Plans force the past to drive the future. They put blinders on you, making you follow a path you drew months ago when you had the least amount of information. The best time to make a decision is right before you do something, not months in advance when you're just guessing wildly. So forget the 5-year plan. What are you going to do this week? That's the only plan that matters. And then there's the biggest obsession of them all: growth. How big is your company, people ask. There's this unspoken assumption that bigger is always better. More employees, more revenue, more prestige. The authors ask a simple but profound question: why? What's actually so great about being big, besides ego? We don't look at Harvard or Oxford and say, they'd be truly great if they just opened 1,000 more campuses and hired 10 times as many professors. Of course not. We recognize their value lies in quality, not size. So why do we measure businesses differently? Maybe the right size for your company is 5 people. Maybe it's just you and a laptop. Small isn't a stepping stone. Small is a perfectly valid destination. While small businesses dream of being bigger, big businesses dream of being more agile and flexible. Once you get big, it's incredibly difficult to shrink without chaos and pain. This rebellion against old rules extends to work culture itself. We celebrate the workaholic, the person sleeping at their desk, pulling all-nighters, as some kind of hero. The authors argue this isn't just unnecessary, it's stupid. Workaholics don't solve problems, they create them. They throw brute force and endless hours at issues requiring creative thinking. They burn out, their judgment gets skewed, and they make the rest of the team feel guilty for having a life. The real hero isn't the one staying until midnight. The real hero is the person already home, because she figured out a faster, smarter way to get things done. So if we're ignoring the real world, rejecting the myths of failure and growth, and refusing to worship at the altar of workaholism, what do we actually do instead? We start. But we start in a very specific way. You don't begin by trying to conquer the world. You begin by solving a problem that you yourself have. The book's most powerful mantra is this: scratch your own itch. The easiest and most direct path to creating something great is making something you desperately want to use. This was the entire origin story of 37 Signals. They weren't happy with project management software on the market, so they built Basecamp for themselves. No need for market studies or focus groups. They had the itch, so they scratched it. When you're solving your own problem, everything becomes clearer. You know if it's good because you're the first customer. Every day you make hundreds of tiny decisions, and when it's your own problem, you instinctively know the right answer. Think of James Dyson. He was vacuuming his house and got frustrated that his vacuum kept losing suction as the bag filled with dust. It wasn't some abstract market opportunity. It was a real personal annoyance. He became obsessed with solving it, and the result was the world's first bagless vacuum cleaner. Or consider Bill Bowerman, a track coach at the University of Oregon. He decided his runners needed lighter, better shoes. So he went into his workshop and poured rubber into his family's waffle iron. That experiment became the iconic Nike waffle sole, the foundation of a global empire, all because a coach was trying to solve a real problem for his team. When you scratch your own itch, you build something you can genuinely be passionate about. You know it matters because it matters to you. And that passion becomes the fuel you'll need for the long journey ahead. Of course, having an idea, even a brilliant one, isn't enough. We all know that friend who says, "You know, I had the idea for eBay. If only I'd acted on it." That logic, the authors say, is pathetic. Ideas are cheap and plentiful. What matters isn't what you think, what you say, or what you plan. What matters is what you do. Execution is everything. You have to start making something. And this is where the excuses roll in. The most common? There's just not enough time. The authors have zero patience for this. You don't have to quit your day job. You can start on the side. Instead of watching TV for 2 hours every night, work on your idea. We're not talking about 16-hour days. We're talking about squeezing out a few extra hours a week. That's enough to get something off the ground. The perfect time will never arrive. You'll always be too busy, too broke, or too something. If you wait for the perfect moment, you'll be waiting forever. You have to start now, with what you have. As you start, you have to decide what you stand for. Great businesses have a point of view. They draw a line in the sand. A strong stand attracts superfans. People who won't just buy your product, but defend it, celebrate it, and spread the word more passionately than any advertisement ever could. Taking a stand means you'll turn some people off. And that's perfectly fine. If nobody's upset by what you're saying, you're probably not pushing hard enough. And you're probably boring. The authors are genuinely proud of what their products don't do. They're intentionally simple in a world of bloated, complicated software. They're willing to lose some customers if it means others will love their products intensely. That's their line in the sand. Think of Whole Foods. They stand for selling the highest quality natural and organic products available. That's their line. You'll never find a Coca-Cola or Snickers bar in their stores. They don't debate it. The decision is already made. Some people mock them for it, calling them whole paycheck. But Whole Foods doesn't care. They know who they are. And they're doing just fine. This belief system isn't the same as some phony mission statement pinned to a wall in a dreary rental car office, talking about exceeding expectations for service while there's nobody at the counter. Your culture isn't what you write down. It's what you do, consistently, every single day. Now we arrive at a philosophy central to the entire Rework worldview. It's the philosophy of less. The moment you start a business, the traditional path tells you to find money. Write that business plan, make a slick presentation, and start pitching investors for seed funding. The authors are practically screaming from the pages. Don't do it. Outside money, they say, is Plan Z. When you take other people's money, you get a noose attached. You give up control. Suddenly, you're answering to people whose primary goal isn't building a great sustainable business, but getting their money back, with a huge return, in 3 to 5 years. Your focus shifts from what your customers want to what your investors want. The beautiful, simple thing you set out to build gets twisted into something that can be sold off as quickly as possible. Instead, they champion a different path: frugality. You need less than you think. Do you really need a fancy office, or can you work from home? Do you really need to hire 10 people, or can you get by with 2? Do you really need to buy advertising, or can you find other ways to get noticed? Great companies start in garages all the time. By staying small and keeping costs low, you reduce your mass. In physics, the more massive an object, the more energy it takes to change its direction. The same is true in business. Long-term contracts, excess staff, permanent decisions, these all add mass, making you slow and inflexible. By staying lean, you can pivot, make mistakes, and fix them quickly, and most importantly, you can change your mind. This leads to another crucial distinction. Don't build a startup, build a business. The word startup has become magical shorthand for a company where normal business laws supposedly don't apply. It's a place where you can burn through other people's money for years while you figure out a path to profit. This is a fairy tale. A business without a path to profit isn't a business. It's a hobby. A real business worries about revenue, bills, and profitability from day one. And just as you shouldn't obsess over getting investors, you shouldn't obsess over getting acquired. What's your exit strategy? Is a question that poisons businesses from the start. Would you go into a marriage already planning the divorce? It's absurd. You don't need an exit strategy. You need a commitment strategy. Focus on building something you love so much you'd never want to leave it. Building to flip is, more often than not, building to flop. So now we have a set of principles. Ignore the naysayers, scratch your own itch, take a stand, and embrace the power of less. But how do you actually get things done? How do you make progress in this new way? This is where the art of execution comes in, and it begins, counterintuitively, by embracing your limitations. I don't have enough time, money, or people is a common complaint. The authors say, good. Less is a good thing. Constraints are advantages in disguise. Limited resources force you to be creative, efficient, and clever. Think of Shakespeare. He didn't have unlimited freedom. He worked within the strict constraints of the sonnet: 14 lines, specific rhyme scheme, set meter. And within those constraints, he produced genius. Southwest Airlines flies only one type of plane, the Boeing 737. This sounds limiting, but it's brilliant. It means every pilot, every mechanic, and every part is interchangeable across their entire fleet. It dramatically simplifies operations and lowers costs. This philosophy of constraint leads to one of the book's most memorable lessons: build half a product, not a half-assed product. It's so easy to have a grand vision with 100 amazing features, but when you try doing them all at once, you end up doing none of them well. The result is a mediocre, buggy, confusing mess. The authors urge you to take your grand ambition and cut it in half. Then cut it in half again. You're far better off with a fantastic half than a half-assed whole. Think of a great film director. The editing process isn't about what you put in. It's about what you take out. Good scenes get cut to make a great movie. You have to be a curator. A museum isn't great because it has all the art in the world crammed into one room. That's just a warehouse. A museum is great because a curator has made careful, deliberate choices about what belongs on the walls and, just as importantly, what doesn't. The stuff you leave out defines the experience. To do this, you have to find the core. You have to start at the epicenter. If you're opening a hot dog stand, the epicenter isn't the fancy cart or 20 different kinds of mustard. It's the hot dog. Everything else is secondary. Ask yourself, if I took this one thing away, would my product still exist? Whatever you can't remove, That's your epicenter. Focus all your energy there. And while you're focusing on that core, ignore the details early on. When the authors start designing something, they don't use a fine-tipped pen. They use a big, thick Sharpie marker. Why? Because a Sharpie makes it impossible to get lost in tiny details. You can only draw big shapes, main ideas. You have to get the big picture right before worrying about button colors or font sizes. This entire process is about building and maintaining momentum. Momentum is the fuel of motivation, and the best way to build it is to make decisions and get things done. Making the call is making progress. Don't get stuck in "let's think about it." Commit to "let's decide on it." A decision, even if imperfect, is a brick in your foundation. You can build on "done." You can't build on "we'll decide later." This means seeking out quick wins. Break large projects into small, completable chunks. The satisfaction of finishing something, no matter how small, gives you energy and keeps you going. The longer a project drags on, the less likely it is to ever get finished. Ultimately, you need to launch now. Get your product out there, probably long before you feel comfortable. When the authors launched Basecamp, they didn't even have a way to bill customers yet. They knew they had a 30-day grace period before first bills were due, so they used that time on more urgent problems and figured out billing later. If you had to launch your product in 2 weeks, what would you cut? That question brings immediate clarity. Of course, once you're launched and running, the biggest threat to your newfound momentum is interruption. Interruption, the authors state flatly, is the enemy of productivity. Think about it. When do you get your most meaningful work done? Late at night or early in the morning when nobody else is around. Your workday constantly gets sliced into tiny, unproductive work moments by meetings, calls, and taps on the shoulder. You can't do deep, creative work when you're constantly stopping and starting. You need to create and protect your alone zone. This is where real magic happens. It's like REM sleep. You don't just fall into it. You have to work your way there, and any interruption forces you to start over. The book suggests radical ideas, like establishing no-talk Thursdays, or setting a rule that from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., people aren't allowed to interrupt each other. And the worst interruptions of all? Meetings. Meetings are toxic. They're famously places where very little information gets conveyed, subjects drift endlessly, and one person can waste 10 people's time. The authors want you to calculate the true cost. A 1-hour meeting with 10 people isn't a 1-hour meeting. It's a 10-hour meeting. 10 hours of collective productivity traded for 1 hour of, most likely, talking in circles. Before scheduling that meeting, ask yourself, is it really worth 10 hours of your company's life? If you absolutely must have one, keep it short, invite as few people as possible, have a clear agenda, and end with a concrete solution that someone is responsible for implementing. The final piece of the execution puzzle is a mindset. Find the judo solution. Good enough is fine. Many people get a thrill from solving problems with complex, elegant solutions. A judo solution, however, is about delivering maximum efficiency with minimum effort. It's recognizing that most problems can be solved with simple, sometimes even boring answers that just get the job done so you can move on. Don't build Mount Everest when an elevator to the top of a tall building gives you the same view. Once your creation is out in the world, you'll inevitably face new challenges: competitors, marketing, and the temptation to grow your team. Rework offers a brilliantly contrarian guide to navigating this landscape. Let's start with competitors. Conventional wisdom says to obsess over them. Analyze their every move and try to one-up them at every turn. If they have 4 features, you need 5. The authors say this is a fool's game. It's a defensive posture that locks you into following, not leading. First, don't copy. When you copy, you replicate the surface without understanding the layers of thought and struggle that went into it. You're always a step behind, producing an inferior knockoff. Instead of copying, do the opposite. Decommoditize your product by pouring yourself into it. Inject your unique beliefs and personality into everything you do. Look at Zappos. They sell the same shoes as everyone else, but they set themselves apart by making their CEO's obsession with customer service the very soul of the company. Nobody can copy that. Competitors can't copy the you in your product. Another powerful strategy is to pick a fight. Position yourself as the anti-something. Dunkin' Donuts brilliantly positioned itself as the anti-Starbucks, mocking their fancy Fritalian drink sizes and celebrating simple, unpretentious coffee. Having an enemy gives you a clear identity and a story people can rally behind. And perhaps the most radical idea, underdo your competition. Instead of one-upping, try one-downing. Solve the simple problems and leave messy, complicated ones to everyone else. Consider the Flip camcorder, a product that became a massive hit precisely because of all the things it didn't do. No special effects, no menus, no optical zoom. It just did one thing: shoot simple video, and did it beautifully. Be proud of what your product doesn't do. Ultimately, the best advice on competitors is this: who cares what they're doing? Focusing on them turns you into a reactionary. Your vision becomes diluted by their ideas. Focus on what's happening inside your own walls. That's the only game you can truly control. When it comes to getting the word out, the approach is equally unconventional. Most new businesses are desperate for attention. The authors say you should welcome obscurity. Being unknown is a gift. It gives you freedom to experiment, make mistakes, and figure things out without the whole world watching and judging. Once you're in the spotlight, pressure to be consistent and avoid risks grows, and that's when companies start to fossilize. Instead of paying for attention through ads, your goal should be to earn it. You do this by building an audience. Through a blog, podcast, or videos, you share valuable information and insights. Slowly but surely, people start coming to you because they're interested in what you have to say. Then, when you have something to sell, you have a built-in group of people already listening and trusting you. This is a massive, sustainable advantage. The best way to build that audience is to out-teach your competition. Most businesses focus on selling. Teaching is an afterthought, if it occurs to them at all. Be like the world's great chefs. Mario Batali and Julia Child don't hide their recipes. They share them freely in cookbooks and TV shows. They know that just having the recipe isn't enough to beat them at their own game. Sharing what you know builds a bond of trust and respect that traditional marketing can never achieve. This book, Rework, is the author's own cookbook. What's yours? This philosophy redefines marketing itself. It's not a department. It's the sum total of everything you do. Every time you answer the phone, every email you send, every error message in your software, that's marketing. It's the entire customer experience. And you have to be patient. The myth of overnight sensation is just that, a myth. Behind almost every story of instant success are years of thankless grinding and hard work. You have to be in it for the long haul. Finally, let's talk about people. As your business finds its footing, pressure to hire will grow. Again, the rework path is one of extreme caution and deliberation. The rule is simple: hire when it hurts. Don't hire because it would be nice to have more help. Hire only when the pain of not having someone is acute and sustained, when work is piling up and quality is slipping. Every new person adds complexity and communication overhead. Before you ever hire someone for a job, you must do it yourself first. You need to understand the work intimately before effectively managing someone else doing it. You'll know what a job well done looks like and what to look for in a candidate. And when you do look, don't look at the resume. Resumes are ridiculous. They're works of fiction filled with action verbs and vague claims. A half-assed applicant can spam out 100 resumes in a day. Instead, read the cover letter. That's where you hear a person's real voice. That's where you can tell if they've actually taken time to learn about you and genuinely care. Look for specific kinds of people. Hire great writers. Why? Because clear writing is a sign of clear thinking. Good writers know how to communicate, simplify, and see things from someone else's perspective, qualities you want in any role. Also, hire managers of one. These are people who don't need constant direction. They can set their own goals and execute them. They free you up to do your own work instead of managing theirs. This brings us to the very heart of your company, its culture. The book makes a crucial point. You don't create a culture. Culture isn't a foosball table or mission statement. It's not forced. Culture is a byproduct, the result of consistent behavior over time. If you consistently trust your employees, a culture of trust emerges. If you consistently put customers first, a customer-centric culture develops. Culture is patina, not paint. It develops slowly, over time. A healthy culture is built on trust. This means treating your employees like adults, not children. They're not 13. Don't create policies requiring them to get permission for every little thing. Don't police their internet usage. It's demeaning, and the time and money spent on surveillance is wasteful. Failing to trust your employees is incredibly expensive. It also means respecting their time and lives. Send people home at 5. The ideal employee isn't a 20-something with no life outside work. A sustainable, creative company is filled with people who have families, hobbies, and passions outside the office. These people are forced to be efficient with their time because they have somewhere else to be. You don't need more hours from people. You need better hours. And finally, resist the urge to create policies for every little problem. Don't scar on the first cut. If one person wears shorts to the office, you don't need a company-wide dress code. You just need to talk to that one person. Policies are organizational scar tissue, codified overreactions to things unlikely to happen again. They're how bureaucracies are born, one tiny scar at a time. This entire journey, this new way of working, is summed up in the book's final urgent message. Inspiration is perishable. We all have ideas. Ideas can last forever. But inspiration, that magical motivating force that makes you feel like you can achieve anything, is like fresh milk. It has an expiration date. When inspiration strikes, you can't put it on a shelf for later. Later, the passion will be gone. The energy will have faded. When you're truly inspired, you must act now. That spark is a gift. It's a time machine that can help you get 2 weeks of work done in 24 hours. It's a precious, fleeting resource. Don't waste it. Grab it and put it to work. As we come to the end of our journey through Rework, it's hard not to feel a sense of relief. It's like someone opened a window in a stuffy, windowless room and let in a gust of fresh air. For so long, the narrative around building a business has been one of hustle, sacrifice, and relentless, soul-crushing work. It's been a story of more funding, more hours, more features, more employees. What Jason Fried and David Heinemeier Hansson have given us is a powerful alternative, a philosophy of enough. They champion the idea that you can build a successful, profitable, and meaningful business without burning yourself out, without taking on massive debt, and without sacrificing your life. It's a calmer, more sustainable, and I'd argue, more human approach. The most profound lesson in this book, for me, is the relentless focus on simplicity and clarity. The idea of building half a product, not a half-assed product, is revolutionary in a world constantly pushing for more. It's a call to be a curator, to have courage to say no, not just to bad ideas but to good ideas, in service of a great one. This requires discipline, confidence, and deep understanding of what truly matters to your customer and yourself. And their perspective on culture is incredibly wise. Understanding that culture isn't created, but is rather the residue of consistent action, is something every leader should internalize. You can't install a great culture like software. You earn it, day by day, through trust, autonomy, and respect for the people doing the work. Sending people home at 5 isn't just a nice perk. It's a strategic decision fostering efficiency and long-term well-being. So how can you start applying these ideas today, right now? First, pick one thing to simplify. Look at your product, your service, or even just your daily workflow. What's one feature, step, or task you can eliminate that isn't absolutely essential? Experience the freedom that comes from subtraction, not addition. Second, for the next week, declare a personal war on interruptions. Block off 2 hours on your calendar as your alone zone. Turn off notifications, close your email, and dedicate that time to your most important work. See how much more you can accomplish when you're not constantly being pulled in a dozen different directions. And third, embrace the idea that inspiration is perishable. Is there an idea you've been putting off, waiting for the perfect time? The perfect time is a myth. The book reminds us that the energy and excitement you have for a new idea is a precious resource. Don't let it spoil. Take one small step. Write the first paragraph. Make the first sketch. Send the first email. Act on that inspiration today. That was a deep dive into Rework by Jason Fried and David Heinemeier Hansson. We've journeyed through its core principles today, but I'll be perfectly honest with you. A summary is like looking at a photograph of a great meal. You can see what it's made of, but you can't taste it. The real flavor, the true nourishment, comes when you sit down with the book yourself. It's in the sharp, witty prose, the powerful anecdotes, and the quiet moments where a simple idea lands and shifts your entire perspective. This summary is your menu, designed to help you decide if this is a meal you want to experience. If anything we've talked about today has sparked something in you, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning. It's about giving yourself permission to build and work in a saner, more fulfilling way. The link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this exploration valuable, it would mean the world to me if you'd click that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next adventure into another transformative book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep learning and growing together.